The comment that I was going to make was to kind of draw the parallel between the European anti-Semitism and the anti-immigrant ideas that you see in the Tea Party and on kind of the American right. I see that as being very similar, that they're incorrectly identifying immigrants as the problem.
That's right. I think it's exactly the same process of scapegoating. Same thing with like the welfare queens in the 1980s and that's.
Do Jack first.
Yeah, I think Jack.
Yes.
I think it was something Charles said. You were talking about people fall into the Republican Party because they feel comfortable, and I think that's because of this kind of dualism that there's only two options. You know, either the Republicans or the Democrats. So some libertarians, pose this third option, which is, okay, the Libertarian Party then. But what I think we need to do is be advocates for the new third option. That's the
new thing.
Yeah, which we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick?
I think a big problem in libertarian also is sort of the split. I mean, if you really want to, I think sort of the idea of libertarian left and right, sort of between radicals who want direct action and non-political reform and all that kind of stuff, new order within the show, the old, that kind of stuff, and the right, which is more politically bound, more maybe minarchist or however you want to term it. But it's still kind of, as he pointed out, there's kind of a division in that. I mean, I like the idea of it, but I think that we shouldn't, as you said during your talk, we shouldn't isolate people just because they have some traits that we may consider conservative. We shouldn't just shun them because they have a few beliefs that we may not like. Let's discuss it, talk it over, and try to work together. Let's not try to isolate each other.
Yeah, I mean, dialogue is necessary. Certainly, there are people who are beyond reproach. There are always people who are going to sell you out. Cut your throat. There are people like Bob Barr or Wayne Root that are out to hey, this is their new career, is this libertarian hucksterism, and it's not like I'm not going to just sit down with Bob Barr and be like, hey, I think it would be really better if we did things like this. No. But people who are in the Libertarian Party or who are in Campaign for Liberty, or even people in the Green Party here, we're talking radical anti-authoritarian left. They have a lot of good ideas, but they're trying to do it through the state, and even like people who
You're doing it wrong.
even people who
Good
consider
ideas,
themselves like even people who consider themselves anarchists who are working in the Libertarian Party. There are people in the Green Party who would probably consider themselves anarchists as well. I think they're just, this is just how they feel that this is how change is going to go. But I just feel like it's our right to tell them, be like, I don't think what you're doing is really the best way to go. And maybe your party should reorient in a more radical basis, be a revolutionary party, one that, calls for strikes and issues communiques supporting something, and, use its membership to support an alternative kind of thing, like I say with like open carry litter pickups, and the Fed rallies, information tablings, like, these are kind of ideas that we would consider libertarian. They're focused on maximizing individual liberty. Well, isn't there a party that's called libertarian? What are they doing? They're running candidates. Which, I mean, if there's going to be a libertarian party, it seems like, okay, maybe you could get some attention through the election, but to act like that's the way, and the only way that change comes is by electing people, or that's the primary way, I think is a mistake. So, Jack.
One of the things that Sam Conkin used to say, and this was back in the 70s when the big debate of which way should the libertarian movement go, a lot of people were arguing that the Libertarian Party would serve this educational function, where it would educate the public, because we'll get all this free publicity, they'll interview us on the radio. Well, his point was, you'll educate them to the wrong thing. You'll educate them to that you should vote, and you should elect more officers. He says, we're not, libertarians aren't for that, we're for something else. So you'd be sullying the name, which is why you ended up having to change what he belonged to, call it agorism.
Which, I mean, I don't get into electoral politics really myself, but I'm just trying to think, people who do go for the party route, like, and what do I think maybe their role could be, which isn't to say I'm Mr. Commander of the Revolution here, like telling them how they're going to be arranged. But I think persuasion is a big thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying to somebody, I don't think your strategy is good. So I think Charles, your hand up next.
Yeah, let me try and get back to where I was. So the I'll remember in a moment. Give me a moment.
I was gonna say, I seem to be on a mental block today. I was one of the comments I was thinking was that the Libertarian Party at first was just started as a joke between Rothbard and a few other people, and then David Nolan, I think his name is Nolan. He started up the party as a serious thing, which is just the Libertarian Party on all its fronts is sort of a disappointment more than a. And I think politics, like you said, is the old best thing politics does is get the message out there. But you shouldn't be seriously campaigning. I mean, libertarians,
Yeah, I mean, it started as a joke. I think we've gone back to the origin. It's a joke again.
Yeah, that's true.
Sort of this time without intention.
It's a bad one.
A bad one.
The joke's gone stale.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I was going to say is I mean, another way in which sort of engaging with sort of that left-right spectrum and trying to get out like this notion of the left as sort of anti-authoritarianism and as decentralism rather than sort of this conventional like Democrats, Republicans sort of split is that so just from the standpoint of like communication and with working with like some of the people that you were talking about in the student movement and other places in the anti-authoritarian left is that if you've spent some time sort of seeing what different people mean by the left, and if you've spent some time with that history and gotten to look at like some of the organizational forms that the left has taken, then that actually gives you sort of a real opportunity for out-lefting the left, right? So if you if you know about like the IWW and you know about the workers' councils and the mutual aid societies and that sort of thing, then when somebody who's got sort of basically good intentions and they're sort of in this thing because they care about poor people and disadvantaged people and so forth, but they just don't really have much of an idea of what to do about that. Then you can say, well, look, why are you talking about all this? Why are you talking about all this statist bullshit and like electing multi-million-dollar candidates on multi-million-dollar campaigns and all this stuff? Why don't you talk about like fighting unions, right? Why don't you talk about these mutual aid networks and these things that the Wobblies and the Soviets did in the past? Or why is it that you're focusing on like convincing a bunch of establishment candidates on the city council to do something about the cops instead of doing what the Panthers did in the Bay Area, right? And so you can give them these examples where you're actually you're moving out to the left of them in the sense that you're giving them like the goals that they're looking for, these sort of egalitarian goals, opposition to social privilege and so forth, but through means that are also more grassroots and more decentralist, more anti-authoritarian than sort of the statist stuff that they've been working on.
Yeah, and I mean this is genuine too. It's like you're actually this is stuff you actually want. It's not like you just say you're left in one place and you say you're right in another place. No, it's like, okay, well yeah, I'm in with the Alliance of Libertarian Left, I'm an individualist anarchist, but you don't lead off with trying to alienate someone. I think is I think you want to lead in and you want to talk in language they understand. If their only association with a word is like Stalinist death camps or like some slave factory in the third world, they're not going to react well to socialism or capitalism. Which isn't to say that you can't work that into the conversation later. But that's the way to start. And I think we're gonna have time for one more. But before that, this is Charles Johnson. He wrote a bunch of the pamphlets that we have downstairs. He's got some stuff for sale in there. And he has a good blog at radgeek.com. Radgeek People's Daily. And so that's a good website to check out, especially on left libertarian.
I think not so much a critique as a suggestion, but another good thing you could have done is to sort of mention like contemporary people who sort of speak out about left libertarianism, just to give people an idea about who to look for, like you or Charles Johnson or Roderick T. Long or Brad Spangler who left. Or
there's going to be another great session on this tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. It's all about
agorism. What is agorism?
So we'll probably have a panel. Hopefully we can get everybody that's writers on agorism to join in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to name drop a little, Roderick T. Long, Brad Spangler's in there. He does a lot with the agorism.info. Kevin Carson's a very good one, writes for Center for a Stateless Society, which the address for Center for a Stateless Society, very simple, c4ss.org, Center for Stateless Society.org. Yeah, the number 4. Because we're elite like that, and there's the Make Liberty pamphlet there. There's Alliance of the Libertarian Left table and pamphlet down in the exhibitor area in the corner, in the back room, because that's how we are. All right, so I think we're about out of time, and thanks for sticking around and asking questions.
So don't go away.